today I'm with Joey Hansen out of Nanaimo South, Smith & Sons franchise operator, and we're on a job here in Parksville, which is just a little bit north of Nanaimo. And what he's got going on here is about a 270 square foot addition. It's fairly unique, and it does represent some of the typical additions that Smith & Sons guys do to really add value to an existing home. So Joey, welcome. Thanks for spending some time with me.
Thank you.
Give us a bit of a rundown. Obviously this is the major space, what's behind me, what's happening out the front there as well. Just give us a bit of a top to toe on the nuts and bolts of the project. Go.
So what we've done is we've taken this space and effectively have doubled the living room and front entrance.
So was this always the kitchen?
This was always the kitchen.
Okay.
It hasn't changed. There was a pantry there. There was a wall right here where you'd walk in this way and it just kind of like blocked everything off. The kitchen table was here. You walked in the front door to the kitchen table, and like the furniture just, now this is a big workable living space, nice and open.
Because when I look at this is more like an open living type plan.
Yeah.
Like you've got the front door, it's got a sort of set up mud room. You've got a bit of an entry, you've got the access to the kitchen can see to the living room and the dining room perhaps.
Yeah, so the room hasn't changed much in respect to what it was, other than adding double the square footage. So it's actually just a much more comfortable living space, much more inviting, especially when you first walk in the door. They have a dog, you open up the door, she's right there in your face. Now you don't have to like, Gemma.
Okay.
And she's the sweetest thing.
Yeah. And what did you do when you were, obviously, because this is the thing we've got to take into consideration when we're doing a redesign like this. What did you do to the front? Did you change much of the front, or was it fairly much a reproduction plus a little,
We changed it a fair amount. So we added 2 windows. Yep. And then we also added, they just had a traditional door, and now we've added this giant door, full 8 feet height, with the 2 side lights. So it just brings in a lot of light, makes it really warm, really inviting. And it actually presented a bit of a challenge when we added the trusses to the front, because we have a standard 8 foot height ceiling, and then we had to go to a 9 foot in that section to make it work.
Yeah, because of the highlight.
Yeah.
Like you say, translucent glass lets that natural light come through.
Yeah, and it's a true 8 foot door on that top panel. So it was quite the challenge. Plus adding from a 1943 house that nothing was level, nothing was square.
Yeah. So it needed a bit of finesse.
A lot of finesse. I mean, on this corner alone, we had to build this up 1.5 inches.
Wow.
And I first, when I started putting trusses down, I was worried it was me. No, my stuff was perfect. It was the original existing house.
And that's why I think when you're talking to general contractors, if I was a client, it can't be just about price. Because if you go for price, what you're going to give up potentially is the ability to finesse different parts of the project, because it's going to require a little bit of thought and a little bit of manipulation and a little bit of compromises to be able to come up with a very good optical finish, which is what that's all about when you have to massage.
Well, and even we had a big girder here to remove this structural wall.
Sure.
So we have a girder running from there all the way to the front. And so that's actually loading the existing trusses, because we didn't want to replace all of the trusses and remove entire roof line. So we actually just added onto it. But in order to do that and take away that structural load, we had to do joist hangers.
You just cut the tails off and then insert the girder?
Yeah, basically. But we kept the structural wall up while doing that.
Sure.
And then as we were taking the wall down at a stud a time, put a joist hanger up.
Got it.
And it was quite the process, bit more than I intended. But it scared me too when I put in my girder. It's perfectly level and we're perfect over there, but over here, the old roof is 1.5 inches higher.
Right.
And I was like...
And you said this was what, 1940?
1943.
Right.
And so on top of that, old building practices, so we went from a 2x4 wall to a 2x6. So you're adding about 6 to 8 R value.
Yep.
On top of it, the old windows that were in were drafty. Larry told me he couldn't sit in the corner because it was so cold.
Yep.
And now it's a really warm, welcoming house. Even through the heat wave we've had, it was like a huge relief coming in here, and they don't have AC.
Right. Just the insulation value.
Yeah.
And so when they were chatting with you, I mean, did it surprise them that you could come up with a fixed price? Walk us through maybe the pre-sale part of it, because that's an unknown quantity, as you know.
That was their number one point with me, is they'd shopped around, they talked to other contractors, and they gave them a ballpark. But the ballpark was based on their shopping. Well, I said, well, let's do that part first.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not easy. It takes a lot of time, but they were patient. They worked with me really well. Both Larry and his wife, Wendy, have just been awesome clients through the whole process.
So what you did is you pretty much nailed down everything that had aesthetic value. Mm-hmm. Countertops, paint colors even, floor coverings, all of those things that you need to know as a general contractor from the clients.
Yeah.
And you didn't start construction or go to contract until you had all that lined up.
Yeah. And then as soon as we had that, we applied for permit, boom, had it within a week, and we were on site a week or two later.
Okay. Well, and so you've obviously did you have to redo the fireplace? Was that something that was already there?
So the fireplace was non-existent before.
Right.
So that was an add-on.
Natural gas?
It is natural gas.
Yeah.
The house did not have natural gas, so we had natural gas brought to the house.
Right.
We also had to do, we didn't have to do, but we did do an underground power service. Mainly because
you upgraded that as well?
We needed to upgrade,
right?
Just to meet the additional electrical demands. Plus, they have a hot tub. Like, they were already overloaded to begin with,
right? Typical.
Yep. And so, in order to bring it to where it should be, we had to upgrade. But in Parksville, being such an old demographic and old city, their power lines were actually crossing the neighbor's yard, which is illegal. And BC Hydro said, "Hey, you gotta either put in a new pole, or we can't run this line."
Okay.
And so we ended up having to run a pole to the edge of the property, and then we dug from there.
Right.
He came in right away, said, "We have to do this.
Yeah.
This is your best option."
Okay.
We had talked about doing
that was
overhead.
all included from the get-go.
Yeah.
See,
well, plus also adding the truss line, we had to move the power from where the panel used to be right here to here. So in order to make it work the best and easiest and smoothest for us was to bring in underground, where if we went overhead, they would have been out of power for God knows how long. Especially, as it turned out, our trusses were 8 weeks delayed with the
And we've
pandemic.
seen the replacement of overhead taking up to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
For BC Hydro to get out there and reinstate the power.
Yeah. And that was another thing too, is we had it scheduled with BC Hydro where and even our truss guys. So once Hydro's in, we want you guys in next day, so they deal without not having a roof line for as short of a time as possible. So it was quite the dancing act, and it actually worked out really well. But it's made.
So what else? Is there anything else in the rest of the house, or this is pretty much your?
The front has been my main go. There hasn't really been anything outside of, we replaced all the gutters around the house. So to modern gutters. We've done a vast majority of the siding. So the big chunk of the existing house that was there, and we've replaced the siding along this whole wall, and then same thing on the other side. Mainly just because the old siding, it was hardy, but it was the old hardy where it had that really hard square edge. Now the modern stuff has the rounded edge. And then also too, we would never be able to match the paint. So, and so like you make this weird cut line, well, no, we might as well just change it all and make it all match.
All right. Well, it's going to make him pretty happy, I would say. Obviously the TV's there, but it looks like it's going up there. Is that what's happening?
It is going up there. It's just off right now. We're waiting for stone. Stone.
Because that's going to be all stacked stone?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And I can see a nice leather lounge suite and family drinking beers and wines and having a good time. It's a great space.
Yeah.
All right, Joey.
You should have felt it before, and now it's very, whoa.
Yeah.
Really brings
Opens it up.
A big intro.
Yeah. All right, now we're on the outside. We've looked at inside. It's about a 270 square foot addition. That involved a 6 foot addition to the front and a 6 foot addition down to the side. And Joey's just going to run us through exactly in micro detail what's happening on the front here. Joey, tell us about it.
So on the front, we've moved the front door from the center of the house to the side, just giving a little bit more access to space and usable space inside. But big front grand entrance. We also finished it in composite decking, which just is maintenance-free product. Really cool detail of showing the yellow rough cut cedar that we've used as the structural posts. And then also same yellow rough cut cedar for our trim work on the outside. And so we're doing hardy, and then we're doing shingle panels up top. And it's a really cool project of doing with rough product opposed to something that has been pre-manufactured.
And having just chatted with Larry, he's big on the rustic, traditional, stone, rough cut lumber, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so looking at this facade, it's definitely what he, definitely you can see that he's envisaged that sort of finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so so you've used Hardy's product here as well? That's a Hardy board?
Yeah, Hardy plank, and then trim work in yellow cedar cut from a local mill just down the road.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And so on the exterior, obviously there's new guttering, you said that before, all the way around.
New gutters all the way around, additional siding onto the old house so that we can just make it cleaner and do it properly.
So you put siding right the way around the building?
Not all the way around, just the 3 edges here.
Yeah, right.
The rest of the house was fine, and now we're repainting it all to match the same.
So on a project like this to do, because when you start moving exterior walls, you do have to then go outside, and of course you've got to upgrade your power service. What's this project going to take you as far as time? Because I think, some of the people that are watching are going to want to know, yep, I understand the scope. How long does something like that take?
Traditionally 4 to 5 months. The pandemic has really put a hindrance on a lot of things. We were delayed with hydro, we were delayed with trusses, we were delayed with getting our customs cut cedar. Everything has just been a delay after a delay after a delay. The only thing that wasn't was foundations, and we did that with a Fox Block ICF. Okay. So again, adding insulation value to the home.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of improvements that makes the house just more livable. Like you said, it was a 1943 home. Everything was done fairly ordinary for its time. It's the way it was. But certainly now you've really upgraded.
Yes.
And it makes it both livable, practically speaking, but also all of those thermal insulation, power services and things like that.
Yeah, well, big modern couches opposed to old wicker furniture at that point.
Sure.
I'm sure in some homes. Yeah. It was a little bit easier to manage, but modern furniture is larger. And so it ate up a lot of the square footage inside. And when I first came here and they were talking about addition, I was just like, yeah, this house needs the addition. Because it's still a great house and it still had good bones, just needed an update.
All right. Joey, thanks again, man. We appreciate you spending some time with us and just chatting about one of your projects, because you've got a couple on the go. And, we look forward to popping back here in a couple of months and seeing the finished product. Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Cheers.